This is Eric and Eric on Hallmark Mysteries and more. So yes, everyone, you get just me today. Sydney is off in Europe enjoying her honeymoon. If you haven't gone to our Instagram to see the stories that she's been sharing, head on over there. It looks fantastic. It looks like she's having a great time. But she left me here all alone. But you know what? I'm not all alone today, because today I am talking to the amazing, the wonderful, the talented Madison Smith. He's been in a lot of Hallmark stuff. He is going to be in next week's Aurora Tea Garden new prequel that's coming out. So that's going to be very exciting. Perhaps what you most recognize him for recently, sleuthers, is he was Robbie in Nicky Nora, the Sister Sleuths, which we'll get into when I talk to him. I still am harboring some feelings of anger towards him for what he did to Nora, but we'll talk about that and maybe clear the air. All right, let's not wait. Let's get into it. Here's Madison. All right, Madison, this is a long time coming. We've been talking on Instagram for a while, so I'm very excited to finally get a chance to talk to you.
We're here. We made it.
Yeah.
I'm excited. And that's the coolest thing about, I think, these Zoom interviews now is that so far away, we can still connect. So I love that.
Yeah. Otherwise, I would have hopped on a plane and flown to Vancouver just to talk to you.
It was just bad weather. I understand. Yeah, it's tough.
Yes. I'm here in Phoenix where it's 98 degrees and sunny. So I imagine Vancouver is a little bit different.
It's not that bad, though. Vancouver right now, it's around 25 degrees and beautifully sunny. And we have the beaches here. I mean, people like to think that as soon as you cross the border into Canada, you're looking at igloos and dog sleds. But no, we are summer here for most of the time.
Well, what's funny, or shouldn't say funny, but a lot of people know for now from my podcast, I actually grew up in Canada, but I grew up over in Ontario. And then so it's kind of like you said, just over the border. I lived in just across from Detroit. So I was born in Detroit, moved across the river, lived in Canada for a chunk of my childhood, and then I moved back to Detroit. I was there long enough, though, to be indoctrinated and required to play hockey. Did you play hockey?
Oh, yeah. I absolutely did play hockey growing up. I played at a pretty high level and always wanted to be in the NHL. Yeah, always wanted to be in the NHL. I tried out for a couple, what are they called, WHL teams, which is the Western Hockey League, which is the league that you get drafted into the NHL from. I didn't make those teams, but I got in a fight in both camps. So
it's good enough there.
It's good enough, right? I mean, that's a success if anybody's keeping score.
Even better if the guy who you got in the fight with is now in the NHL, so you can say, "Yeah, I kicked that guy's butt."
I mean, I wish I could point to these people and think that they were. I mean, now I should look them up and find out.
You took down Conor McGregor. We'll go with that.
Yeah, exactly. Conor McGregor, the MMA fighter, was trying up for the same hockey team I was. Oh wait, you heard it here first. No, you were thinking Conor McDavid.
McDavid. I'm like, wait, yeah, Conor McDavid. What am I talking about? Jeez. All right, so who is your hockey? Who's your hockey team? Because you're a British Columbia guy, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm right now in my home, and Rogers Arena, where the Canucks play, is right there. I could throw a baseball from my patio and hit a Canuck. I won't, because that'll injure them. But I've been a Canucks. Oh yeah, that's bad. I've been a hockey player or a Canucks fan most of my life, but I just like good hockey. I've never been a person who cares too much if my team's winning. I just like good playing. I do have a favorite football team, though, and that's going to be the Seahawks, and I will die on that hill.
Okay. Well, once again, I'm from Detroit, so Red Wings are my team through and through. And unlike you, I do die. And it's been a few tough years for me now. I do have my Stanley Cups, 11 Stanley Cups to hang my hat on. But last few years have been tough, but hopefully turning the corner. Okay. Good hockey talk. All right. So one of the things we do in our podcast for our guests is we create a signature cocktail. And for you, and based on our conversations, you should not be surprised. The cocktail I have for you is called the Psycho Killer. Now, I will say I did not create this one. This one comes from a famous mixologist, Jillian Voss from New York City's famous Irish bar called the Dead Rabbit. But what it has in there is, and it's a little fancy. So I've actually never made it. And I don't think this is stuff that has that's probably hanging out in your liquor cabinet right now. You may have to run to the liquor store, but from what I've seen, very worth it. It's a very complex drink. So
sounds good.
Kind of like complex like you. You sit there and you post all these nice things about you and your wife and seem all nice.
Turns out I'm a psycho.
When it turns out, yeah, you're a psycho. If you're not a psycho killer, you're a psycho intern. But that's a whole nother story. All right.
A whole other story.
So it's got 2 ounces of Irish whiskey, 3/4 of an ounce of cocoa nib infused Campari, which I will say how to make that. 1/2 ounce of a white cream de cocoa, banana liqueur, and 2 dashes of why can't I say it? Whatever. You got me, Conor McGregor.
Absinthe?
Yeah, absinthe. So you mix them all up. And then here's the best part. You put it with ice, you stir it around, not the shaker, so it's a little more gentle, but then you pour it in a Nicky Nora glass. I did not know a Nicky Nora glass existed until
hilarious.
Now. And yes, so we'll call it a Nicky. You pour it in a Nicky Nora glass. Yeah. I will have the directions for anyone who wants to get bold and make this in our show notes as well as on our website. So sometime if you're feeling it between movies, you can go there and you can make this little fancy drink, the Psycho Killer, and know that really you are there. So from what I read about it, is it takes that first sip seems a little bit bitter, but then it just quickly changes and it's delicious from that point on. A lot of people in the comments, there is a few of them were saying, I wasn't sure about this one. I wasn't sure. And then they drank it and they said, oh, it's fantastic. So
did you see it on anybody's menu that would be a place you could go get it? Is that a thing?
I guess if you go to this Dead Rabbit in New York.
Gotcha. So, there we go. Sounds good.
But it seemed to be, after she made it seemed like a lot of people had it in their little recipe blogs and things like that. So
when I go to the Dead Rabbit in New York and I say, I'll get the Madison.
Exactly.
Go, excuse me? Sorry, the Psycho Killer.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So speaking of which, let's hop right into the interview. And I'm not going to dilly-dally around it. Defend yourself for being this cold-blooded killer, of screwing Nora over, how you could kiss her, lead her on. She's so sweet. She's so adorable.
Mm-hmm.
And Ramona Fish. And then what do? You turn around and you be a psycho killer. So defend yourself.
I mean, Robbie, this is the thing that I've always
loved.
Not
Robbie. This is you.
Oh, this is me. I have to be the
I know you are Robbie.
I know I am. So the way I like to look at him, and it was really fun to talk with the director, Kevin, about this as well. We kind of talked about Robbie as the kind of person who would steal a loaf of bread to feed his family. And that's, a very famous ethical question. Right. What is the right choice? Do you let your family starve, or do you steal, which is, against the law and wrong? There is no right answer there. Ethical purists will say, never steal, but then the rest would say, well, you're doing it for the greater good of the people that you love. And that's really what we went to the heart of when it came to Robbie. We really wanted him to be going through this ethical dilemma. He did the wrong thing for someone that he loved, his little niece, who was, a lot of his world. He really cared about her and loved her deeply. So he would do anything for her. So when he made the first tough choice to, bury evidence in the earlier case, that was for her, but he thought it was a one-time thing. He, again, was faced with an ethical spot of, do I continue this to save myself, or do I do something, again, bad for the goodness of other people? Again, don't get me wrong, these are wrong things to do. If you look at these ethical questions, if anybody is in the same situation, A, don't bury evidence, and then B, when you get caught, don't kill the person that is framing you. That's just, let's talk about that. But at the heart of it, that's what Robbie's going through. He's trying to figure out what is the right thing to do. He wasn't doing them exactly for himself. He was doing them for someone they loved. And then also, it could be worse when it came to being blackmailed into doing more. So he again is met with a very tough decision, makes the wrong one, but that's kind of what he had to do. And the funny thing, I really like this about the movie, if you watch it back, Nicky and Nora, the first two times you see Robbie, he's already buried evidence, but he hasn't been a killer yet. Obviously, we do have the lawyer still there, and right after they're at the bar drinking, and he learns about Nikki, he goes right there and commits his murder. So it's really interesting to think that, like, when you first meet Robbie, he's not a murderer. He hasn't gone that far yet. And then through the rest of it, he is. And, he's really doing his best to, I think, protect Nora and let it go. He really wants it to be let go and seen as a suicide. Obviously, he tries as much as he can. He writes the note and stuff like that. So, I mean, to your question, I don't think he's trying to be bad to Nora. I think he really hopes that despite this terrible thing, he can still be with Nora, even though he's a terrible killer.
But of all the actresses too, like Winona Fish and we'll talk about that in a second, but she just seems like one of the sweetest, nicest people on the planet, and you did her dirty.
All right. Yeah, and it was a pleasure working with her. Like most of my scenes I got to do were with Nora, and Rhiannon was an absolute pleasure to work with every day.
So now, do you expect her to sit and wait for Robbie in jail and go visit him? Or is she moving on saying you're dead?
Well, I think murder, I don't know the laws exactly in Chicago, but I'm pretty sure murder puts you in jail for quite a long time. So she's waiting a while. And I think that's one of those things. Behavior. Time off for good behavior. Yeah, it's like only murder. So I think she's moving on from Robbie, unfortunately. Although Robbie probably looks pretty good in orange. Who knows?
Hey, he could. All right, so we talked to Nicole McCormick, who is the costume designer for Nicky and Nora, and she said that this set was just filled with some of the nicest people. We just talked about Winona a second ago, but just some of the absolute nicest people she's ever worked with. And she pointed out you specifically, and I didn't even tell her we were talking or anything. Aww. So, I mean, it had to be fun to work on that set. Plus, like I say, just a bunch of like fun people they seem to be. But
it was a blast.
Tell me a good behind the scenes story that people may not know about filming this movie.
Ooh, that's an interesting one. I mean, the very first day I had was really interesting because it was the day before Hunter even started. So it was just a lot of the cop stuff. It was a lot of the stuff in the precinct. The very first scene we shot is the very first scene after sort of like the teaser where he's washing his hands and hiding the blood. So the stuff that's in the precinct where she comes as the lawyer, that was the very first thing that we shot, which was really cool to do something so early first to sort of like set the tone. So that was really cool. And I think behind the scenes, I don't know if I could point to anything that felt like that's the one thing. I mean, I guess, yeah, I mean, the maybe one that stands out is our young gentleman who's playing the son of the baseball coach. When he has to come and hit the statue with a baseball bat, obviously you can't keep hitting a statue with a baseball bat, but he is swinging and sort of making it look like it's hitting a bunch of times. And on probably the third take, he took a swing and it did not stop in time and absolutely cranked this thing. And it's a statue. It's a real statue. And you could I've played baseball my whole life. When you hit something hard with a bat, it vibrates so hard.
Yeah.
You could see the vibrations in his toes. It looked like it hit so hard. Oh my gosh. But I mean, there were so many fun days. I think it felt like a no drama kind of shoot. And it was just really fun to be a part of. Every place was cool. The bar that we got to film at was really awesome. Yeah, I couldn't tell you sort of a behind the scenes. If one pops into my head, I'll let you know.
All right. Okay. So we can't talk about Nicky Nora without talking about your bulletproof vest that you wore throughout the entire thing. So I've got to ask, like, my wife makes fun of me because I always wear socks. You think Robbie is like wearing his vest like everywhere he goes? He's like, at the grocery store, has it on, during hanky panky, he keeps it on and all of that. And then secondly, did you keep that vest? And I'm surprised like you're not wearing it. You don't like wear it around when you go
don't have it right now,
to the Canucks games and stuff.
That vest we filmed in the middle of July. And I had a undershirt, I had the cop shirt, and then the vest on. So every day I left there, probably 5 pounds lighter than I showed up. But yeah, it was interesting because like I like the vibe that we went for. We went with more of this sort of tactical. I think we matched up a lot with, say, like how British officers look, like people who live in London. They kind of always have the vest on the outside. And a lot of times, obviously, cops are going to wear their vest when they're going into battle. And maybe because Robbie was just always worried that someone was coming for him because he was a bad guy, he just kept his vest on at all times. But it was pretty cool. I mean, one of the coolest thing about the vest is it's quite sort of thick and pliable. So I loved getting a feeling for wearing it. I mean, having the belt on just changes the way you walk. Having the vest on changes the way you kind of stand. There was a lot of cool things about that, but yes, it was definitely hot to wear. I'll admit that. And so that's the one thing about that first day is in the cop precinct, my first day wearing the outfit. It was very warm in that room. I'd had like fans on me as much as I could so that I'm not sweating in every take. But my goodness, after every take, I'm like ice bathing because I sweating just a little bit.
Now, when you had your pre-meeting with Nicole and she was showing you like her visions of Robbie and you saw that, were you like, oh yeah, I'm on, this is awesome? Or were you like, all right, this I see where you're going, but was a little bit hesitant because that, like I say, that vest is Robbie. Like,
yeah.
I mean,
he's a belt and suspenders guy, obviously. No, I really liked it. I mean, it was really cool. She was fantastic to work with, and like that first day, you when you're working on set, some of the people you're the closest with are obviously hair and makeup because you see them for about an hour a day every day, right when you get there. And then your first sort of intro into a show is going to be your costume designer. They're going to be the ones that sort of talk to you. And they've been thinking about your character for weeks, sometimes before you've even been cast. Obviously, things change once you get cast, but they have an idea for the vibe of this character based on the script. So, and it's really cool when you get to come in because you talk to them about your thoughts on it. You see if they match up. You see if they're willing to sort of change. A lot of Robbie's style outside of his cop outfit is my own style, which is really cool. I mean, they bought a pair of jeans that was just identical to the jeans that I already owned. And it was funny because as I was at my my wardrobe fitting, they're Levi's, and Levi's take a little bit of time to get worked in. So I asked, can I take these home and just wear them a bunch so that they're a little loose? And they're like, yep. So I bring them to the first day, just all worn. But yeah, it was pretty cool. And the nice thing about being an actor is casual clothes. That's where you as the actor and playing the character can kind of go, here's how I picture them when they are in their casuals. So you brought up Psycho Intern earlier. I was a big part of, I wanted him to be dressed up, but I also had his sleeves rolled up in all his outfits and the tie kind of half done. And that was his kind of signature look. He kind of had that in every one. And you kind of get to do that when it comes to things. But when it comes to, say, uniforms, that's on the costume director. And it's about feeling comfortable in the way it's supposed to feel. And then I really like anytime I get to work on period stuff. Because, again, that is about the costume director sort of saying, this is going to fit the style. So I did a 90s show called Valley of the Boom. And that was really fun because I had oversized t-shirt and a thick tie. I did one calls The Heart, and that was really cool, just being in like those 1800s outfits, because again, it just feels so cool. But the cop outfit I really enjoyed. I thought it fit the character, and I thought it helped me sort of get into that feeling of, being a cop, walking around with my head held tall.
All right. All right. You brought it up a second ago when we were talking, you're saying hanging out at the bar and stuff. So you were there and you're drinking all that beer. I have to ask, what do you guys actually drink for beer? Like, it's not beer, right?
It's not beer. Once in a while, if it's like something fun, you might get a little regular thing in there, but it's usually non-alcoholic beer. And I get in trouble because I like to drink and I like to eat in my scenes. So the prop supervisor has to keep coming in and filling up my beers nonstop, which is always really, I wouldn't say annoying, but it's just one of those things that's tedious.
Well, sorry, you're Canadian, and isn't drinking like fake beer? Speaking of cops, couldn't you get arrested? I mean, come on, beer in Canada.
It's sacrilege. I mean, that's the thing. But it's what you got to do for the craft, It's just what you have to do for the art of acting. It's the playing of pretend.
So does it taste like decent, or what does it taste like?
I mean, it's realistically just a classic non-alcoholic. So I think we had an amber beer that day, and they taste fine. They just don't give you a buzz, which is the unfortunate part.
I don't understand. I just don't understand this concept.
Get it.
But okay,
it's beer, but not beer.
Yes, but okay. I was just, like I said, I was looking at it, and I guess that makes sense. Giving you the non-alcoholic. Now you should be
the problem
slipping in some of the Molson in there and just not.
The
telling
only issue
anyone.
is by the end of it, when you're trying to remember your lines and all you're thinking is that birdie's really pretty. It just doesn't work as well. Kevin would be quite upset with me.
I'm sure you could handle it. You're Canadian. You're not Australian, but you're pretty close.
Pretty close. Queen's on our money.
All right. So now we're going to get to know you a little bit. That was my Nicky and Nora. I guess I will officially forgive you for what you did to her.
He's been forgiven. I love it.
Yes. But all right.
I don't write these stories, by the way. I wanted Robbie to come out of it the hero. I tried to convince them.
I will say I did not see that coming in the least bit. And we talk about a lot of the mysteries, and some of them you figure out who it is. Mystery 101, great series, but there was sort of a thing to them, and you could figure it out once you kind of understood the pattern, but it didn't matter because the story was so good, the characters were so good that it really didn't matter. But there's some other mysteries where you just, that you totally figure out, you're like, whatever. But then
you're just waiting for it to be revealed.
And then this one, like I say, this was probably one of the biggest shockers, because the other thing is Robbie was just such a nice guy, and what we've learned was he was not. Actually,
again, I think he was a nice guy that did a bad thing. I think he's
a psycho killer really and has a drink.
I actually knew, because my audition has the confession scene, so I knew right from the beginning that Robbie becomes this person. But it's really cool when you get to play those too, because you kind of got to go, do I want to showcase any of these things? So even in like the very intimate scene between Robbie and Nora, but when they have the kiss at the end, I was talking to Kevin. I was like, do we want him to be a little bit, suspicious at all? Or is it just genuine? And he's like, play it as genuine as possible, because that's the most real. And I think that also added to the fact that, being so worried about her that she could get in trouble, that someone could be coming after her. Well, realistically, I'm warning her to stay back so that I don't have to do anything, or, making her scared so that, Robbie can be safe and not have to, get in trouble. So it's such an interesting sort of thing to play, because I played it like I was innocent, but when you watch it back, Robbie's very nefarious in that scene.
Did other people know, by the way, that you were the killer? Like the whole way?
Like, you mean people watching it, or
no, the actor? Like the actors all know that.
Oh yeah, we all know the script, so it's
the whole
end. Same thing. Yeah, it's always nice to, when you do know the end, you can play against the end to help play it so it really hits it when you finally see it.
All right. All right. So now we're going to ask the fun questions just to get to know you a little bit. So a little bit of Madison here.
Love it.
Right. So do you have a special or unusual talent that people may not know that you have? We did learn that you're a hockey. We did learn that you're a good hockey player, but.
Well, I mean, growing up, I played baseball in the summer, hockey in the winter, every year. I tried out for the both the Seattle Thunderbirds and the Chilliwack Bruins in the WHL. So that was sort of my peak of how I got to when it came to hockey. But I also played college baseball, and my plan was to go NCAA. But eventually, I went the acting route instead. Special talent. Let's see. I mean, I feel like there's not many movies that I've seen that I don't remember almost every moment and every line from. I have a pretty, not photographic memory, but I have a photo memory for things that I've watched, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So that would be maybe the one. If you bring up a movie that I've seen, I'm in that conversation.
Perfect. Well, by the way, what position did you play in hockey?
I was a forward. So okay. I was the third line guy, kind of trying to make everybody scared by skating really fast at them and hitting them so they fell on the ground.
All right. Nice. All right. What's your favorite flavor of ice cream? We just had this conversation last week. So
this is such an important question, and I need it to be very well known that it is Oreo. Oreo ice cream is the best ice cream. Now, cookies and cream is garbage. If you give me cookies and cream, you can keep that, throw it in the trash. That is not worth my time. But if you give me Oreo ice cream, I will eat that. I will eat that for every meal. If I had pizza and Oreo ice cream for the rest of my life, I would be a happy boy.
Okay. Well, then mine was Rocky Road, and Sydney, by the way, who's the co-host, she's off today on her honeymoon. So
I heard. Congratulations.
Yes. So she is not with us. She's not going to, well, she may actually be calling in. She's flying now because otherwise she'll do it. But we're talking to Skylar next week, and it's going to be midnight Paris time, and she's going to still try to make it. So we'll see. I'm like, I'm not going to count on that because she's going to be out. She's going to be out drinking and living the Paris lifestyle. But so it may be a very interesting interview with drunk Sydney. But
no kidding.
But so yeah, so hers was cookie dough, and mine was Rocky Road.
Oh, that's Oreo. A pretty good little bowl of ice cream if we mix all three of those.
I will say Oreo, that's not bad stuff. But you did bring up the pizza. I'm a very big pizza fan. Now, is the Hawaiian pizza, does that work for you with pineapple?
That is my favorite pizza.
No.
Yes. To anybody listening,
all right, I've rescinded my forgiveness of you. Ugh.
If it is sweet and salty, so my wife is Filipino, and sweet and salt or sweet and spicy is sort of the way that all foods go. So a little bit of sweet in there. I didn't realize my entire life loving Hawaiian pizza, but then I was meant to be with my wife who's Filipino because that is the food that they eat all the time. Sweet and spicy. Pineapple on pizza is easily the greatest. It gives that little bit of sweetness to your amazing, salty, and delicious pizza. I will again die on that hill. Hawaiian for the rest of my life. If I can only eat one pizza, it would be Hawaiian.
All right. Well, I'm a cheese guy, so I'm pretty boring.
But, well, there's cheese on a Hawaiian pizza.
Yeah, so. I know. My pizza would be no toppings, but the Hawaiian, gotcha. I don't know. And I saw your little Instagram. You play golf left-handed too, so you just have all sorts of negative.
Just all the backwards things.
But being the hockey player, you probably hit the ball like 17 miles, whatever. Because all the hockey players I know take it about waist high and then just rip it through that little snapshot.
I posted on Instagram the other day, me at the driving range, and the two swings that I took a video of, I hit over the fence.
All right.
So yeah, I can hit the ball a ton, but it definitely slices every time. Because also I played baseball, so when I swing as a golfer, it doesn't look like a golf swing. It looks like I'm hitting a home run that's just teed up on the ground.
All right.
It's pretty embarrassing.
You need to get on set with Taylor Cole. She's a huge golfer.
I worked with Taylor Cole actually. We did a movie about 6 years ago called Falling for You. with Tyler Hines. Yeah. He was the lead of that one.
That's the D where they're doing like the DJ Bachelor contest
exactly.
or whatever, right?
And I was one of the Bachelor Bake Off boys.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch it again.
It was really fun. And fun story about Taylor Cole. She was my like Hollywood crush my entire life. So when I got to work with her,
justifiable.
Oh yeah, I was starstruck when I met her, and guess what? She's fantastic and amazing. So I was right to have a Hollywood crush on Taylor Cole.
Yes, I had her do a cameo for my sister. And
awesome!
She was like so unbelievably genuine in it, and whatever. I've got my Rushmore, and she is on it. Brooke Burns is, as everyone knows, I can't do a podcast without mentioning Brooke Burns. Love that woman. But so it's Brooke Burns, Kimberly Sustad, who it's her birthday today, Taylor Cole, and why did I go bit? Oh, Aaron Cahill.
Gotcha. Yeah,
all of them fantastic. But so yeah,
it's a good Mount Rushmore for sure.
Yes, but all right, moving on. I'm still a little flustered about this pineapple pizza. I should have stayed at the ice cream. I was so supportive of you at the ice cream.
You were so supportive. I had pineapple pizza on my thing yesterday. I was eating it 2 days ago. So I will again die on that hill. Should we just end the interview? We can.
Maybe
I'm kidding.
Maybe I'll edit it out and
edit it out just so everybody
it never
can
happened.
Like me again.
It never happened.
Gotcha.
All right. So if you're entering a room and they're playing a song, what are they playing for you? What's your walk-up song?
Ooh, it's got to be something probably from the Backstreet Boys. I used to own a Jeep, and I would put the top down, and I would play the Backstreet Boys' greatest hits almost every day. That was the number one album that would play as I was going anywhere. I would play it as loud as possible, so everybody would go around. And here's the thing. If you're going to go into the boy band, wars, who's better, NSYNC or Backstreet Boys? The thing about it is Justin Timberlake is the most famous thing about NSYNC, but the Backstreet Boys themselves are what's famous about the Backstreet Boys. And if you put on a song from the Backstreet Boys, you know all the words. If that comes on at the club, everybody knows the words. So absolutely a Backstreet Boys song. I couldn't even pick one, just one of the greatest hits.
All right. Well, I'm a little bit older than you, but I'm also never entered the boy band battle discussion. Sydney, too bad she is not here.
Yeah,
she may be able to get in on that one.
You're missing out. There's so many things. Pineapple on pizza, boy bands. These things are staples of a person's life.
80s, but the Clash. Go Clash all day, every day.
Oh, I'll take an 80s song almost anytime. My dad grew up playing anything from the 80s for me, so I could sing along to anything. Like if you go any Bon Jovi that comes on, I again know all the words.
All right. Okay, so we talked about a little bit. Is it more fun to play a guy like a bad guy like Robbie, who we said maybe he's not necessarily as bad, but psycho intern? Or do you like to play like the good guy? Because I think you're natural, though based on this discussion, I'm realizing maybe you aren't as nice as you appear to be.
I know all these things are taking me down.
The boy bands and the pineapple pizza, but is it better to play like the good guy or the bad guy?
The really cool thing about getting to play the bad guys is, as much as I can, I try not to play them as the bad guy for most of the time, which has been the most fun part. So with Psycho Intern, again, just kind of like Robbie, I kind of made him the hero of his own story. So anything he's doing, he thinks he's the good guy. So, and even the director, her name is Ann Forey, she was great to work with, but we talked about the Psycho Intern being in his own Hallmark movie, if that makes sense. Like meet the girl, it's a meet cute, love at first sight. He'd do anything for her. She needs things, he does it. This is his own little Hallmark movie in his own mind. And that's the way we played most of those scenes. So when you get to the end of the movie where it gets dark, after setting up this epic love story in his mind, you get to really have it come crashing down and see the cracks in his brain. And that's the really fun part of it, because you get to build it up and knock it down. Same with Robbie. I mean, it's nice to get to see both sides of the coin. When you're the good guy, I mean, they're really fun to play, and a lot of times you get to have really fun, snappy dialogue. But at the same time, there's just that like fun you get to have when you get to have those big scenes. Robbie didn't exactly have any of the fun that, say, the Psycho Intern did. However, the murder scene where we hit him with the statue, that was really fun to do because we had a stunt guy, we had like a rubber statue that I hit with, and the actor who I hit, I had him hit me at the end as payback, so that it wasn't that like I was the only one hitting him. He also got to hit me, so it was fair.
Okay. See, there you go. There's a little behind the scene action.
Yeah, there we go.
2 more for the fun questions, and we're going to move on to Aurora Tea Garden, because that is what we're here to talk about. All right. So if you could have a conversation with an animal who would understand your response and you'd understand that animal, what animal would it be and what would you ask it?
I mean, the easy answer is just I would talk to my own dog. I'd love to know what my own dog's doing and find out why.
You're saying, what the hell are you doing eating pineapple pizza?
That's absolutely. And I would say to her, I would be like, why do you pee on my carpet all the time? Can you, and see if there's a thing that I'm doing wrong. That would I just
told you what it was.
Yeah. But I think I would, it would always definitely be a dog. I have a little, like, my own little thing for life, as I always like to say, imagine your life is the same way a dog does. If you've ever been walking a dog and the dog's ahead of you on the leash, it starts to go left, but you know you're going right. The dog is so excited to go left. The dog is thinking left is the most excited I've ever been to go a direction ever. And then you pull the dog and now you start going right. Well, the dog doesn't get sad, doesn't pull you left and go like, no, I want to go this way. The dog immediately changes course, goes right, and is back in front of you, just as excited to go this way. So I've always loved to think that, like, if we as people can sort of think like, whatever direction your life takes you, try and be just as excited to go that way, then everybody will be a little bit happier. So I'd love to be able to hear that. You know, that thing of like, oh, I can't wait to go left. Oh, we're going right? Oh, yeah, right. Sounds awesome. Like, that would just make me happy.
Awesome. All right. Well, I guess you've never walked my dogs. I have 2 of them, and one of them will keep trying to go left because left is the gotta happen. I am not going. I don't care what you say. I am not going right. Now, granted, like you said, once you go right, there is something wonderful to sniff right. But my little one is the most stubborn dog on the planet. And my other dog, though, is very much like exactly like you described. Where are we going? Where are we going? Awesome.
We're awesome. Going that way? Awesome. I can't wait.
All right. So, all right. So last question is, have you ever been recognized out and about, and any crazy one that happened?
Interestingly enough, I've been recognized one time, and I had just finished filming my first day on a movie coming out called Mismatch. And it's going to come out this summer on E. And I'd finished filming the first day with our lead. Her name is Anya Sabchik. And I've known her for a long time. In fact, she was in my very first day ever on set. So it was really cool to be back working with her. We go for dinner after because it was a long day. We wanted to get a little bit of food in us. And our waiter comes up. He's sort of, just talking to us regular. And eventually he goes, "Are you an actor?" I said, yeah. I thinking maybe I've worked with him on set. A lot of times when you get noticed, especially in Vancouver, it's because they've been background maybe on some of the shows. So they actually recognize you because they've worked with you. But he told me, he's like, I watch Salvation. Salvation is a show I did a couple of years ago. Right. He said every year he rewatches the show, and that he recognized me from that. And I was almost stunned, and Anya was really excited, and she's like, "You've been recognized." So that's about the only time it's ever happened. And I hope I'm big enough one day that it happens more often, but I also hope I never don't get as excited, because it's really cool. Like I said, we've talked about this before. Like, the coolest thing about being in Hallmark is how excited people get about these movies. And I love, this is the reason I do it. I don't do the acting just so that it's, you know, for the paycheck. I do it because I love doing it. And I hope what we do makes people happy. I hope it adds some joy to somebody's day. And for this person at the restaurant, it did. And it was very
every
cool.
year.
Yeah. Every year.
Awesome. Well, that was actually a perfect segue because you're talking about how passionate the Hallmark fans are. And we talk about this often when you do the rom-com, you know, people love their rom-coms and all that. But when you go into the mysteries, it's like a whole nother level because usually the mysteries are a series. And so the characters get to be developed unless they go ahead and are psychos who kill somebody and get thrown off to jail. But you know, for the most part, like you do get to grow them. And so one of the ones that had the most episodes ever is Aurora Tea Garden. So was there like a lot of pressure that you guys were feeling knowing that you're doing a reboot of one of the most popular of the Hallmark mysteries? Plus with, and I don't know how much you follow it, but with like the canceling Mystery 101, there's like everyone's all, you know, mad at Hallmark for not continuing mysteries. And while this isn't technically continuing, it is like a reboot, which, you know, could go, I think it's going to go great, which we'll talk about in a second, but you know, it just has people nervous. So did you guys feel that pressure when you were on set? Or was it kind of like, new?
Well, the really cool thing and interestingly enough is we've all discussed it, and it's not a reboot, it's a prequel.
Right.
Same way that the Star Wars movies are a prequel to the original trilogy. That's what we're doing. We are telling the earlier stories of these classic characters. I don't think this is a spoiler, so I'm not going to worry about saying it, but our film takes place not in modern day. It takes place back in the day. So if eagle-eye viewers are watching, you're going to see some Blackberries. You're going to see some flip phones.
Awesome.
My character has a computer, and it is not a modern day computer. It's got the back sort of to it. So that's the really cool thing is we're not doing a reboot. We're doing a prequel. And so that's been the awesome part. Obviously we have Mary Lou back, playing herself, which who could play herself better than her? Which is really awesome. We've not recast, but we've cast for the younger versions, the three main characters, obviously. And it wasn't exactly that we felt pressure, because there's always a pressure when you're working on any movie that you want it to be good. And if we added pressure to ourselves to also need to live up to something, that can take away from just telling a good story. And that's the best thing. I mean, I don't have my character doesn't have a counterpart in the future. So I didn't have that same sort of thing, but I do know that the other three had, reference to how they play it in the older versions. So it was really cool to be a part of. But yeah, the pressure didn't feel like it was there, because the really exciting thing is we all really liked the script. We all really liked the story. We all really liked our director. Every time we got to set, we kind of finished each scene and we went, that was really good. So for us, we're all just very excited about how it's going to turn out and be this, this prequel series to an already, as you said, sort of like main stage of Hallmark. We're excited to be a part of that and not take it over. That's the coolest thing, is we're not a new thing. We're a part of an already sort of growing thing. Again, just like being part of the Star Wars universe. That's the cool part.
All right. I'm just so you know, I'm 100% on board and agree. And a lot of the people with the Mystery 101, the thing I keep always talking about is how great it would be to have a prequel, because once again, I told you about my Mount Rushmore, but Erin Cahill is Christopher Bahala's Travis's character's ex-wife, and how great it would be to go back and sort of tell that story. And everyone gets mad at me saying, I don't want prequels. I just want continuations, but I'm excited for this one. Okay. So your character you play is Matt, who you said doesn't have, he's not, one of the ones in the current one, but I mean, Matt's kind of a boring name. Couldn't they just let you stay being Madison? I mean,
that's
like
the interesting thing
name.
Is when you do your audition, you get these people that come in, and I gotta say, when you get your little explanation of who your character is, sometimes they are the most fun thing in the entire world to read, because if you book it, you get to feel really good about yourself. Because a lot of times, I played a guy named Orban in The Order. It was a Netflix show, and when I read my description, it said he had boy band good looks, and then I booked it, and I was like, okay, so I guess I have boy band good looks. Nice. I'll take it. No, I'm not going to say that about myself, but someone did apparently. So yeah, when you get these auditions, it's for the character, and I often play a lot of like generic names. I've played a Carter, I've played a Matt, I've played a Alex. Like I'm always playing these like classic names. It seems like if you give me a weird name, I won't book it. It doesn't sound like.
Now, I have to say, I think the reason why you weren't cast as young Arthur is because of the way you treated Nora.
Oh, that's got to be it.
They didn't want you doing that to Aurora.
Evan is awesome though, and I'm excited for everybody to see him.
Now, can you say what who Matt is?
Matt is no, I can sort of give the spiel, which is Matt is Sally's fiance.
Oh, so you're the one who goes missing.
I'm the one that goes missing. Okay. So Matt Walker is the fiance who goes missing.
Wait, your last name's Walker? Matt Walker.
Matt Walker. Yeah.
Well, I guess you come from Smith, so
exactly.
But Madison's a much better name than Matt.
I can't give too much more information, but Matt and Sally, it's their wedding that's bringing everybody together, and basically the 2 days before the wedding, Matt goes missing, and a body is found at his apartment. And as we learn, it turns out not to be him. So, what does that mean?
What's kind of crazy is I haven't seen any of the trailers for it yet. I've seen a lot of Dancing Detective, which is the week before. It seems like they should be coming out, but
they'll be coming out, I think, probably in the next 2 days. I think if you look at the Hallmark website, there is a trailer on the Hallmark website. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. So everyone out there who listens to this podcast or follows us on Instagram knows I was not a huge fan of the original series, but I am crazy excited for this prequel. I think the casting, all you guys, I think are fantastic. And a lot of the things that were the reason why I was not a huge fan of it are not going to be part of the prequel. So can you just tell us why we should be all excited? I know all the sleuthers out there, why we should be excited for this prequel.
I think I mentioned it earlier, but the script is easily one of the top things. I mean, we all read it, and as you sort of mentioned earlier, sometimes when you do these mystery ones, it's quite easy to figure out who the bad guy is, who the killer is. And this was one of my favorites that I've ever read and luckily been a part of, that not only is a surprise, but it's got enough characters that it keeps on sort of switching things up and making you sort of guess and not be sure until finally when we reveal which is. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to tell you who it is. But that was the really cool thing. And again, as I mentioned, like being there every day, I got to see Skylar playing Aurora. She is wonderful. Kayla, who plays my fiance in it, is again wonderful. I've known Evan for a really long time, so getting to see him on set playing such a great character, fantastic. Like this is, if it's just if you want the bullet points, the script, the cast, the director, our director of photography shot a beautiful movie. Like this is, there's no reason not to watch.
Have you seen it?
I've only seen we sometimes will go back behind the camera and take a look at how it looks. So we've done some we've done some pretty cool things with the camera in this one. But I also got to do what's called ADR, which is where you have to replace your voice if there's like a loud sound in the background. And I've done that, and again, looks beautiful. So it's going to be one that people are going to be excited to see and not want to miss.
So is this, because obviously going to prequel, this isn't, the other ones were all part of the book series. This is obviously a fresh story, right?
Because
There's not a prequel in, I don't think, in Aurora Tea.
Not in the books. I actually believe there's only, I think, is it 6 or 9 books, and they did those for the first ones, and then eventually they started writing their own stories. Okay. That have, and so this one again is an original story. And yeah, it's a very fun sort of journey through this question and answer sort of story. It's a good whodunit. That's the best thing I can say about it, is this whodunit aspect is very fun.
Is it the same writer and director who did the others, or is this new one?
Same writer. The director is Jessica Harmon, who has been doing a few Hallmark. She just did, is it called Dance Moms? I think it might be, but yeah, she just did that, and she did a tennis one last year, directing her younger brother Richard Harmon. So, and she's a, honestly, like, you're gonna see her name on many fantastic shows and movies coming up because she's a great director.
All right. So we, like I mentioned before, that we are talking to Skylar next week. Is there, give me something about the shoot that would be something fun I can ask her, that's once again a little behind the scene.
Let's see. What would be a good behind the scenes to ask Skylar? I mean, ask her how much she really likes, I mean, dressing from the mid 2000s. I think that's something that for all of us, like, it was really cool again to, as we talked about earlier, it's fun to play into earlier times. So I thought that was a really fun part for me. So maybe checking in with her and asking about her jackets, maybe specifically about her jackets.
Oh, that's funny, because one of the things Sydney always talks about with Aurora Tea Garden, because she was a fan of that series, is the sweaters that Aurora won there. So now we're switching to jackets, huh?
We're switching to jackets, and definitely a fun one. And but also, yeah, I mean, it's tough to ask about anything that's not spoiler wise,
right?
But I had me and Skylar had one of the biggest like breaks, which is where you start laughing, I've ever had on a film before, and it's at a very it's at a serious moment, and now neither of us can stop laughing. So there's no way to really ask about it without revealing spoilers. But it was, for me, maybe one of the funniest and most fun times ever on set. But also, you feel so bad because you're wasting everybody's time as you're just cackling laughing.
I think she just looks totally like a sleuther. I think she is perfectly cast. So
she was awesome.
All right. So Sydney is not here, as you probably have figured out. And we've talked about, but she is a huge Steve Basic fan, and he's playing Detective Cook in this. Yep. So first question I have is, can you give us his cell phone so Sydney can start texting him incessantly, even though she is on her honeymoon? But secondly, like, did you hang out with him at all? Did you ask him for like some, not that you have pretty good hair yourself, but did you ask him for some hair advice, some pointers on just how to be like just a too school or too cool for school kind of guy? Because
I've known Steve actually.
I'm gonna give you a little background quickly on this.
Okay, sounds good.
We were talking. I think it was I forget which mystery came up, but his name came up, and she was like, "Oh, he is totally, hot and everything." I'm like, "Wait, him?" And I like totally didn't get it. And then the next day after our podcast dropped, we had all of our comments were like, "Sydney is totally right. He is hot." And then this morning when I told my wife about this interview, and I said, this is one of my questions I'm asking. She's like, "Who is he?" And so she looked him up. She's like, "Oh yeah, he's hot." So I've realized Steve Basic's just a hot guy, and
he's a good looking dude.
But
I've known Steve, funny enough, for almost, I think, 8 years, almost 6 or 7 years. He was in one of my first Lifetime movies I ever did. It was called He Loves You Not. And he played my girlfriend's dad. And I knew right from the first day I met him, he was just a blast, fantastic actor, and able to turn it on as soon as the camera's rolling, but loves to mess with you so that you screw up. I mean, there's times in this that he tried as much as he could to make us break. And it worked. I don't know if it'll be in the film, but there's a time where we're in a scene together and I'm supposed to be serious and I am like trying to hold, I'm corpsing a lot. But I've known Steve for a long time. This is now I think my 4th time working with Steve. When I did The Order on Netflix, he was one of my people that was a part of my community. So we got to work together there. And so seeing it again back, it was awesome. And it's just so clear how much everybody else loves him too. I mean, I rode in my my ride basically to the hotel, and our driver was like, "Are we getting beers again, Steve?" And he's like, "Yep." Oh, and then this is funny. So we had to take a helicopter from Vancouver to Victoria when we had to shoot, and me and Steve were on the same helicopter. And as we're flying, it's about a 40-minute sort of flight, and we're in the middle. We're watching movies on our phones, just heads back, just relaxing. All of a sudden, our helicopter does a full 45-degree or 90-degree sort of turn and then resets. Turns out we almost hit an eagle in the sky, and our pilot let us know because it freaked us all out. I mean, all of our stomachs kind of dropped like we were on a roller coaster.
Yeah.
And apparently eagles are the kings of the sky. They can get up to about 6-7 feet wide, and they don't move for anything. And they don't know that helicopters are dangerous to them. They don't realize that the propellers. So the helicopter was going, and this eagle is just flying straight at the helicopter that they had to maneuver around it to not hit it, which could cause some serious damage to the helicopter. None of us knew what was going on, and our pilot let us know at the end. So me and Steve are sitting next to each other with our eyes maybe fully open, just like, what's going on? So that's my Steve Basic story for that one, because we were in I wouldn't say near-death experience, but felt like a near-death experience.
Yeah, felt like it. So he didn't like lean over and give you some like total confession of that.
There was no murder confession or nothing like that. He seems like he's not a psycho like me, I guess.
Well, no. All right. So the other one though is, you brought it up a little bit before, but like Steve obviously has all that experience from Garage Sale Mysteries. I don't know, between that and Aurora Tea Garden, the two most produced ones. But then the other one would be Mary Lou Henner, who was obviously in a bunch of those. So when you had her on set, I think you kind of alluded to this, was she kind of being a guiding light to all things Aurora to help you guys sort of navigate how the character should be, the flow of things? Or was it just because this is prequel, so it's totally different?
It wasn't exactly that it's totally different, but obviously, I mean, at these ages, they're different humans. Right. I mean, imagine you when you were in high school versus now. I mean, trying to say like that, how to play like you. I mean, that's the really cool thing about getting to play these characters as younger versions, because it gets to be this thing where you're like, okay, how do we take this person and make them this person? So how we start doesn't dictate how we end, which is really cool. But Mary Lou was really there to answer questions about, what has happened before. She offered us that like the very first day we met her, to give us the opportunity to say, if you have any questions about how it went before, let me know. Also, we learned about Mary Lou. Mary Lou has this like rock star memory. She's got this thing where she's like one of 7 people in the world with a memory like this.
Yeah.
She can know where she was, what she was wearing, and what she was doing on any day that you tell her. So I told her my birthday, and she's like, I was wearing a blue dress, and I was like, oh my gosh. So I didn't ask her a lot of Aurora stuff. I just asked her a lot of dates. I mean, like, tell me more about this time. But yeah, she was great. Really, really nice.
I know, as you were saying earlier, that's what I was going to bring up when you were talking about how, that like memory for all your, those films and stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, but you had Mary Lou, who puts you to shame on that.
Goodness, I don't even know. Like, it's pretty impressive.
like, I don't know if that would be like a good thing or a curse. Like, it seems like at some point you just wouldn't want to remember that day.
Didn't seem like it hurt her. So, I mean, it doesn't seem like that, but I mean, some gifts are curses, but didn't seem like a curse to her.
All right. All right. So, we're all looking forward to it. That's going to be airing next Friday. And like I say, I'm super excited. I know a lot of our listeners are very excited. We did a little poll of, with the new mysteries coming out, which one are people most excited about, and this one was very, very high in that poll. So
love to hear it.
I'm counting on it. Not disappointing, and I don't think it will. All right,
and I mean, you got to see if he pulls another Robbie, I guess.
Yeah, I know you've already promised me you wouldn't.
I didn't promise nothing. I didn't promise nothing.
You said Evan was the bad guy.
I said Evan was the bad guy. Yeah, they really retconned the whole thing. Turns out he's not a cop later on. He is already arrested. So spoiler alert, everybody. It turns out that Evan is the bad guy.
Well, I thought it was Evan was the twin, and he's not really Evan.
Yes, we're doing a soap opera. It's actually not a Hallmark mystery. It is a full-on Days of Our Lives soap opera.
Right. All right. So you did mention before you got a new movie coming out, and I believe when we talked earlier, you said you directed this one too, right?
No. It was directed by her name is Lucy Guest. Again, fantastic. She directed Rhiannon actually about a year before I worked with her. So I got to then work with Lucy, who I had worked with as an actor on the movie I did with Steve. So many connections there. It's called Mismatch. It's going to be airing on E, so E !
Right.
They had a couple of rom-coms already come out, and ours is about she is a dating, I guess, guru. She helps out at a company that basically helps guys get better at their dates, so that they don't have to end up alone. And I play her ex-boyfriend who comes to her for help on how to become a better date. It's really fun. There's a lot of, fun characters in it, and her and the three leads, who are kind of like the three amigos in it, are very fun together. And I'm excited for people to see it. It's going to be very fun.
Now, how is it doing it on E versus like a Hallmark? Did they do the 15-day rush fast thing like there, or do you have a little more time, or is it pretty much
still a 15-day shoot? It always ends up being, what's exactly needed for it. I mean, because these rom-coms are mostly dialogue, it doesn't take a lot of setup for certain specific things, because you're mostly filming dialogue, and the story is being told through the words more than it is through what's shown. Those are the days that take longer. So stunts, fights. So even when I did Psycho Intern, we did our one scene, took 2 days to shoot, as where the rest of them we would shoot 4 scenes or 5 scenes a day. And then the one scene which has the fight scene, I'm threatening everybody, that took 2 days to shoot. So that's always what it kind of ends up being. And all of mine and Anya's scenes are just all dialogue driven. So I would just show up, say my words, and then get sent home. It was great.
Where did they film that one? Set up in
filmed here in Vancouver there? Again. So yeah, beautiful. We filmed it during the summer last year. So nice and hot, beautiful views. I'm excited for people to see.
All right. So you got you said that when's that one coming out? June?
We think this summer. We haven't heard an air date yet, but they moved it to the summer because it's a very summery looking show.
Okay, perfect. All right. Anything else going on that you want to tell us about? Or
I'm excited for. It's pretty busy right now. I'm excited for people to see Aurora. I'm excited for people to see Mismatch. And then I did a lead actually in a rom-com that still hasn't aired, called The Perfect Manicure, but it's like Perfect Man and then a cure is in brackets. And I play the lead in that one, who's like a marketing specialist who helps a girl who has a manicure invention. And it was very fun. I got to work with a girl named Marley Collins, and it was her first lead as in a rom-com. And man, we had a good time. So I'm excited for that to finally air. But so far, we haven't heard when it's going to air in the States and Canada.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So I guess with Aurora, you being in Canada, you're not going to actually be able to see it when it airs on Friday, huh?
Well, I'll find a way.
Right.
I'll find a way.
Okay.
I'll ask our producer Scott to send me a thing, because I always really like to go along. And the cool thing too, again, is the Hallmark people are so good at like live tweeting along, so that we all get to. So sometimes if I can't watch it, I can know where it's at in the story, because I can just go along and someone will go, "No way." I did that. I didn't get a chance to see Nicky and Nora live. I watched it later on that night. But I was aware of what was going on because of Twitter.
All right. Well, Nicky Nora was my favorite of the 2022 mysteries. So
whoa, yeah, high praise.
It was everything was good. Like I said, everything was good, and there were some good mysteries. So yeah, so it is definitely high praise. I will say, Cases of Mystery Lane set a very high bar for 2023. So I'll pull for you that Aurora can surpass it.
I mean, I got high hopes. I'm really happy with how it turned out.
Sounds like you're saying the whodunit sounds like a good one. So
yeah.
All right. Well, I would like to thank you again very much for joining me. Like I say, it's we've been talking for a long time. I thought we were going to be talking about a rom-com, but we started doing this mystery thing, and so but once again, very excited. So thanks a lot, Madison.
I'm excited, and anytime that I'm doing one of these, I'd love to jump on again and talk, because it's an absolute blast. It's so excited. The coolest thing I think anybody can do is be excited about things, and I love chatting about things because I get excited about everything. So being able to talk about this stuff is awesome.
All right, and don't forget to send me a Steve Basics number for
send a Steve Basics number the moment I see you eat 2 large Hawaiian pizzas.
I figure that's what you're going to be eating when you watch Aurora Tea Garden. Your pineapple
you
pizza
are not wrong.
With a little Oreo ice cream for dessert.
Because we've talked about it, I will probably order some Hawaiian pizza right after we get off this call.
Oh, perfect. All right. We'll see you later.
Great talking to you.
Bye. Okay. That was a whole heck of a lot of fun. Madison is just a cool dude. He has been super supportive of us from even before day one. When we told him we were launching the podcast, he said he would absolutely be a guest on there. Just had to wait for one of his movies to be coming out, where I think he had an inkling of what was coming. So we greatly appreciate it. He is one of the most genuine people you will ever talk to. And I hope you really enjoyed our conversation with him. I know I did. I'm mostly forgiving him for what Robbie did to Nora, but I don't know if I can forgive the pineapple pizza. That may be a little too unforgivable. We'll see. I'll give him a chance to redeem himself, but it's going to be a very tough battle. Okay. So everybody, as usual, we would really appreciate if you would tell your sleuthing friends about the podcast to help us grow. We love talking about mysteries. We love when we get feedback from everybody. So whether you leave a comment for us here on your podcast platform, or you over on Instagram, send us a DM or a comment on one of our posts, any of that we appreciate. We're always open to any ideas for content that you would like us to cover. So feel free to send us a DM over there or whatever you want, and we can certainly consider it. Tomorrow is going to be an exciting day, because later today we are talking to am talking to Will Kemp, the star of The Dancing Detective, A Deadly Tango. It is a last minute thing, so it is going to air on Friday. I will get it recorded and uploaded to our podcast platform so everyone can listen to it the morning of the Dancing Detectives premiere, which is tomorrow night. So that should be really exciting. Back-to-back interviews with some really cool guys. This is an exciting week for us here. As always, follow us over on Instagram. Follow us on our website. Go to the website. I am working on a really fun feature where it is going to be a little game of guessing the movie by emoji. And I have a whole bunch of the mysteries in there. That should probably be up some point over the weekend. So that's a good time. But hopefully you all enjoyed the conversation with Madison as much as I did. And until tomorrow, that's it. Thanks for listening. This is Eric, and I can't say goodbye to Sydney. All I can say is, Sydney, I hope you're having fun over there. It looks like you're still in England, getting ready to head over to France soon. So, all right, everyone, in the spirit of that, go on.